I have to tell people 5G is a killer.
Wireless radiation has biological effects, period.
The technology that's coming is going to be broadcasting at 60 gigahertz. That is the absorption spectrum of oxygen molecules. You don't mess with oxygen molecules.
It's particularly frightening that radiation from our telecommunication and power line technology is damaging the DNA in our cells.
We know that radio frequency radiation of 3G and 4G are associated with a whole variety of different human health effects.
There is no safety level for microwave radiation for children. Not one.
The weight of the evidence demonstrates clearly that exposure to radio frequency radiation causes disease. The evidence is strongest for cancer.
A major U.S. government study on rats finds a link between cell phones and cancer.
Very first government study linking the radiation from cell phones to cancer.
Cell phones can damage sperm quantity and quality.
And speaking now as a biologist and as a physician, was not designed to deal with the explosion of EMF activity in the environment. It's not just in the air, but in the land and the sea, everywhere. There's EMFs everywhere. You can't escape it.
The one researcher to have studied young people who began using cell phones as teenagers, Professor Leonard Hardell of Sweden, has found that those who started to use cell phones heavily before age 20 have 4 to 6 times more brain tumors by the time they reach their 30s.
I know there's a convenience issue. I'm addicted to this stuff myself, right? But I also know that in Article 4, Section 51 of our Michigan Constitution, our primary concern is supposed to be the health of our citizens. Amen. That is supposed to be the primary concern. And
we need to speed the deployment of 5G here on our shores. Turning innovators loose is far preferable to expecting committees and regulators to define the future. We won't wait for the standards.
This stuff is untested on kids. Their safety is not certain. These untested technologies are, at this time, not ready to be unleashed into our lives.
My name's Kevin Modis. I'm with the California Brain Tumor Association, but actually collaborate with 10 other groups. One of the groups is emfscientist.org, emfscientist.org. That's 220 doctors and scientists from 39 countries who have looked at health effects from wireless radiation. And from their work and the work of others, we can clearly say that wireless radiation can cause cancer, neurological problems, immune system disorders, and reproductive harm.
In humans, we have clear evidence of cancer now. There is no question. We have evidence of DNA damage, cardiomyopathy, which is the precursor of congestive heart failure. So 5G is not a conversation about whether or not these biological effects exist. They clearly do. So the idea with small cells of putting the cells closer to people's homes and bedrooms scientifically is very dangerous. And from an economic perspective, it's dangerous.
I'm a weapons systems head-up display expert, one of the leading experts in the world. I've actually brought cover in relation to this, and the reason I became an expert was because I invented them. What I'm going to say to you today, do not believe a single word I say. Not one. I want you to do your research. You'll find it's absolutely terrifying. So the whole thing became more data, quicker downloads, etc., etc. However, 5G is something completely different.
We're now at a stage where we're putting in what's called 5G, which is a special type of broadcast for high-density information transfers. And it turns out that this is the same frequency bands that are used in crowd dispersal weaponry.
And people need to understand that 5G technology is very different from 2G, 3G, and 4G that preceded it. And that is because the wireless radiation is using a higher frequency. Our current wireless technology uses about 1 gigahertz to 4 gigahertz. This new 5G technology is ultra high frequency, ultra high intensity, and it's 24 gigahertz to 90 gigahertz. To put this in some type of perspective, 90 gigahertz is 90 billion electromagnetic waves per second hitting your body. We know people are already getting sick from the lower frequencies, and we expect, that is our scientists expect, that these higher, ultra-high frequency microwaves are going to bring people to disease quicker and in a more intense form.
Rising exposure to electromagnetic radiation is a global problem. The World Health Organization and international standard-setting bodies are not acting to protect the public's health and well-being. International exposure guidelines for electromagnetic fields must be strengthened to reflect the reality of their impact on our bodies, and in particular, on our DNA. Although we are still in the midst of a great technological transformation, the time to deal with the harmful biological and health effects is long overdue. We are really all part of a large biological experiment without our informed consent. To protect our children, ourselves, and our ecosystem, we must reduce exposure by establishing more protective guidelines. And so today, scientists from around the world are submitting an appeal to the United Nations, its member states, and the World Health Organization to provide leadership in dealing with this emerging public health crisis.